back to Centurion's Corner, and today we are going to be customising Han, or bringing him up to date. It's the new archive line, it's the one that's come out, and since I was a kid this coat has always been blue. It was always transcended on the actual Emperor Strikes Back as blue because of the filter they used, but it just come more apparent in the 90s. Actually it was a brown coat, and I remember them bringing out the sort of original Power of the Force in a brown coat, and it just didn't look right. It doesn't scream out Han to me. He always has kind of sort of like a, you know, blue trousers, or in the Emperor Strikes Back later on he had a blue coat on Bespin. So yeah, it just looks a bit boring and a bit dull, and I just don't think it's more as iconic than what we actually think. So to my opinion it is going to be blue, so we're going to paint it up blue anyway. We're going to do a bit of a black wash, maybe add a bit of speckle of snow on top just to sort of bring it out a little bit, and his badge needs a little bit of tender loving care, and also his belt is missing a lot of paint applications with silver, even though we have all these parts on here. This isn't going to be mostly black, but his buttons and other parts on the back seems strangely enough that they've done it, but on the front they haven't, so we just need to add those as well, and maybe just a small black wash that gets in these lines just to really bring out that detail. So let's go. Okay, before painting Han, you just want to bring that belt as low as we can just to get enough canvas there before we start painting. So here I am painting Han's coat blue, getting him back to that original look. I'm using Tamira Paint XF8, which is a blue, and actually sometimes it comes out a bit glossy. To get away from that gloss, the best thing to do is literally just pour a little bit into a cup or into a little mixing bowl. Put your paintbrush and dip it into the water, just as if you're about to wash the paintbrush, and then just dip it back into that blue paint, and it will thin it just slightly and it become a little bit of a wash. And then what you want to do is just drag it nicely over the actual coat, and it will actually make a very nice matte look, more of a natural look, not a glossy look, just a very sort of washed out kind of looking coat, so it looks well used. Obviously if you don't want to paint Han blue, you can completely skip all this, but there will be extra details we'll be adding to the figure as well, so just stay tuned for more. Don't forget, if you do like this content and you want to help the channel, then please just drop a like, you can subscribe and you can comment and ding that bell. Thank you so much. So here you can actually see the paint as it dries. It has become that sort of nice matte look. Just always make sure you've got the same consistency going throughout the coat. Sometimes I've got a bit sort of glossy coming through, so I just went back over it with a bit of more wet paint to bring it down to get back to that matte look. And as you can see, I'm just carrying it on with the blue paint, just finishing off the hood. You can see I do mainly do my customs freehand. It's only because I have a steady hand and I feel comfortable with my skill in doing it. But if you're just starting new, or even if you are a bit of a pro and you want to sort of mask it off, then do so. There's plenty of different masking tapes out there that you can use. So we just brought up Han's belt so we can get to the lower parts of his coat now. You can see the top is slightly drying as well, so it's all coming together very nicely indeed. Now this bit I did get to a bit of a problematic. I didn't really realise how much space I would have. So change your size of your brushes, make smaller sweeps, don't get too much paint on there. If you do, it's not too bad, we will be able to scrape it off, but obviously if it gets on the inside of that belt, it's going to be quite hard. So downsize your brushes, keep your steady hand, or mask it off, or even try and pull the belt off completely if you feel uncomfortable doing this. Okay, so next up I'm using Tamira aluminium. It's a really nice shiny silver, and it really brings out the other things, and it matches Hasbro's kind of like silver paint as well. And all we're doing is just filling in those tiny details, and if you look at your Han figure on his belt, you see these little cut out bits. You actually see the details in his belts that need to be painted silver, and we're just finishing those off just to really bring out the extra parts and just to make that belt pop. So here I'm just finishing off that badge. For some reason Hasbro made it like a bit of a T shape. I don't know whether that's a painting defect. Your ones might be rectangular already, so I just made it more rectangular and finishing it in. And also just painting a bit of black on the droid cooler on his belt, just to bring that more detail in line there. And again, just to make those extra little details just look more realistic. So here you can see I'm using slightly different paints. These are artistic acrylic paints. You can get them from any kind of shop. And I use these for very fine detail on the figure rather than using the Tamira normal paints. I won't get a complete coverage of these unless I really thin them right out. But they're just nice just to get that detail on there. Because Tamira, as fantastic as they are, they don't do a lot of different colours. So I do cheat in a kind of way rather than mixing colours, etc. So here I wanted an off-white colour and just using these colours just to match that kind of scarf colour that he has on his hood. I just wanted to bring in a bit more detail there as well. As Hasbro have painted the whole thing brown. If you look very slightly at Han Solo on Hoth and also other figures, he does have clothing underneath and it's not just all blue. So here I am with the thin brush again. It is a 00 brush. I use this quite a lot when I'm doing fine detail, and I've just got it back to that blue again because I have overspilled the white. So we just want to bring it back around and obviously fill in the coat from the inside as well. So it's the white is kind of more hidden underneath the blue. So Han is just drying in the background and looking pretty cool. Next up is his accessories, and Hasbro have just done a big massive lump of white plastic on a belt, so we're going to have to colour it in, and there's a lot of different details on there. We're going for that kind of imperial grey that we use, and it needs to be around sort of like the view look. There's a little dial on the top that needs to be that colour, and also the front of the binoculars as well also needs that. We're going to be using red as well because there's a few lights and switches on there, and obviously black for the lenses. So we're coming towards the end of Han's transformation. Now we're just adding that black wash. So as I've always said, it's just a tiny bit of acrylic paint and then lots and lots of water. So you're looking about 95% water, 5% acrylic paint, and we can just rub it on there. I do dab the brush down a lot. I always work on the very little as I can, and I'm just rubbing it off with my finger and pushing that extra black paint into the details to really make that fluff on the collar pop. We're going to do it over Han's coat, but not too much, just to sort of pull it around the belts and other stuff on there. We don't want to put too much black on there because there is a lot of detail and we will end up missing a lot on that blue as well. Little bits around on the actual hat as well, getting that detail, get beyond those ear parts and stuff on there again to bring out those creases. And then eventually we can go down to the legs, over that kind of quilted pattern on these knees, push that paint in there, wipe off the excess, put a little bit more on, and then just keep wiping it off. And it'll just really not make the figure too dirty, not taking it away from Hasbro's original look. It'll just get a nice kind of really popness of the detail. Here I'm really putting a big black wash over the boots though, because they need to look a lot more dirtier, and there's a lot of detail in those boots, so we can really make them pop as well as the rest of the figure. So here we're just going to do the black wash over his accessories, just gives it a little bit of grit. Don't forget, do his belt as well, It will give it that leather look and take away that horrible plastic gloss that it has. We can do that on his scarf, on his hood, just to bring it all in line and looking very symmetrical over the figure, and just do a slightly small black wash over his goggles. Not too much, don't put too much dirt on there, because we still want his goggles just to look okay. I tried once, I wiped it completely off, but I just wanted it on the edges and dotted it around the outside using my finger to dab it off. So last up with the black wash, just do the hands, get it behind that communicator, just give it a little bit of grubness and it'll fall all in line and look really cool. So this is a fantastic piece of kit. It's a Tamiya weathering kit. What it is, it's kind of like powder. It comes in A, B, C and D. They always come with 3 colours: mud, rust, sand. This one has snow in it, so we're obviously going to use the snow and place it on top of our Han Solo. You can layer it down, so do a nice little bit, add extra, just keep dabbing it on there, and eventually we'll get that snow. Rub it in with your fingers on certain areas, over the pockets, in the creases, so it looks like it's just come from a nice scouting trip on Hoth and just walked inside as the snow is melting and falling off him. So here he is, all finished, weathered and covered in blue and looking very nostalgic and very cool indeed. He originally come out in blue in the Black Series line. The first time we got this figure, obviously in the archive he's been brown, and the one before where he come a 2-pack with Lear, it was also brown in that one as well. But what we've done here, we just finished off, we just covered in the blue and then we've done a nice black wash over the top of him. Finished off some of these details on his belt as well. And the black wash over his other accessories, and also covered in blue with the snow. And yeah, it just really makes the character pop, looks more detailed, and it's pretty cool, ready for action. We've got that extra part under here that we painted up as well, and the coat is looking fantastic. It looks a lot glossier than it does in real life. It's just because my studio lights are really pinning right down on him, just really sort of showing it all off, really, like it's reflecting back. We've got a black wash as well on the leather belt, so you can really see that leather effect taking off. And these little silver notches and stuff really just adds to those details with the black on his droid cooler. And looking around as well, so on the belts down here, did a bit more of a black wash on these boots just to really sort of show off that detail, and also a very fine black wash in there. I don't want to take too much away from the actual figure. I don't want to add it and make it look like a model on the shelf. I just want it to sort of like be a Hasbro figure that's a slightly tiny little bit more detailed, that doesn't actually look like it's not actually belonging with all the rest. So the little kits that I've used, so the ones that are covered in snow, I haven't really showed these off on the channel for a long time. I used to use these quite a lot for my clone customizing. So the Tamiya Weathering Master kits, they come in letters, so this is A, and we have sand, light sand and mud, and they just literally just powder, and you get a little applicator in there and you just take it off and layer it down. You can layer it as much as you want, you can take it back off, you can put all different colours in to get a desired sort of like area that you like. So I used to sort of customising my clones, I always kind of think of a backstory, like if they was on Kashyyyk I would use the mud and maybe like the light sand, etc, etc. The soot is always a good one, so this is number B, so we got the snow. Soot is a very good kind of thing for actually giving weathering to your other figures if you don't want to do like a black wash, etc. We've got rust on this one, we've got oil stain, burnt red and burnt blue, and this is number D. So I haven't got actually C here, but I can't imagine there's anything on there that I needed, that's why I didn't have it. Other paints that we used was the black wash for him here. The ones on the actual binoculars that I did use for the grey was dark sea grey XF54, which is a great colour. It comes in really handy for any kind of imperial kind of grey colours and stuff like that. Normal colour X7, which is all the little details on his binoculars, and then the main colour that I used was XF8, and it does come out quite glossy, and I've shown it off before now, but if you just pour a little bit into a pot and then add a tiny drop, just a drop, maybe just wet the brush just slightly and put that into the mix, and then laying it on, it would become a bit more of a wash, but a thicker black wash. You know, it's just a nice wash that you can put over the figure, and it just takes that gloss down and it becomes more of a matte looking thing on there. And just a quick look at the binoculars as well. So we added those extra details inside there and on him there, and so really just finishing off that look and looking really cool. And this is the second upgrade. Whether you think it's an upgrade or a downgrade, whether you think it's a brown coat or blue coat, let me know down below. What do you think your preference is for Han Solo in his Hoth outfit? And you can also follow me on Instagram, which is in the description below, and you can ding that bell, subscribe and like so you don't miss the next episode. So until then, take care and I'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.